Welcome to GoldBoys Live, presented by Pickett Sports, Sleeper Picks, Hall of Fame Bets. We got Brian, we got Josh, we got you guys on the chat. So hit us up with your questions, your comments, be a part of the show. Boys, a lot to do. We'll react from Thursday Night Football, Week 3 NFL, a lot of news with the quarterbacks, who's in, who's out, Major League Baseball, odds to make the playoffs as football takes over. Man, we're down to like a week or so left in the season, and it's fascinating. Some of these races, some of these markets. I had one of the tougher beats I'll ever have. That's getting a lot of attention, so we got to talk about that.
Yes,
Boys, wherever you want to start. I guess
I want to start right
last
there.
night.
No, I want to start right there.
Unpredictable as the NFL is, that to me was like the most predictable game ever. That went exactly how I thought it was going to go. You knew that the 49ers were probably just going to take care of business, and Giants threatened for a little bit, but that was pretty much San Francisco all the way. You guys say stuff.
I want to start right there. I want to start with that bet slip, please, because that is absolutely bananas to me.
Okay. So I didn't post it. I was just a peek behind the curtain. We had a lot yesterday with meetings. We had 3 hours of meetings. I did 3 hours of podcast. I barely had time to eat yesterday, so I left out some winners. I left out a loser. Like I didn't post everything I bet, so I feel bad about that. But my brother texted me this. He's like, hey, and he's a recreational bettor, but he's like, hey, I bet some exact final scores for the game. And that triggered something in my mind. I was like, you know what? I could see this. I didn't think there were a lot of outcomes in this game because I thought the Giants weren't going to score many points. And I thought this was like a 30-10, 30-13 type of game. I saw, and one of my other buddies had a profit boost on FanDuel. They gave me a notification, email, whatever. You got a profit boost. So max $25. I said, you know what? Let me just look at some of the final scores. It felt like a 30-13 game. So I boosted it to plus 180 to 1 at 30-13. And obviously, look, I don't know how bad of a beat it is. I guess it's bad because if the Giants kick the extra point, I win. But they went for 2 so early in the third quarter. Like as soon as you go for line up for 2, whether they get it or miss it, I was dead. But then I start to realize, wow, this would have actually happened. And I texted JD.
Giants,
and he posted
the Giants scored too early. If they scored that touchdown when it was already 30, you know what I mean? Like because it made sense to go for 2. Like I guess
I was surprised, and not just from my bet standpoint, because at that point I'm not thinking, hey, I'm in this. I was just sort of casually keeping an eye on the score. When exactly that take place to go from 5 to 3 that early when there's still theoretically going to be a lot of scoring? I was surprised.
It was 17, wasn't it, for the Niners?
Yeah, it was 17 to 12.
It was to get within 3. It was 17 to 12,
which is the right play. But usually that's a fourth quarter play where there's only a couple possessions left. You don't chase. Usually don't chase that point early.
Nowadays, the thought process and the like standard thinking, I suppose, at this point with head coaches is you go for 2 at whatever point in the game to provide yourself an opportunity at future points in the game to not have looked back and wish you went for 2 because you'd be within 3, right? Like it's really just like go for 2 now. You still have a really high percentage of converting it. Chance. So like,
why do you think you have a high percentage chance of getting it?
No, I'm just saying a 2-point conversion is like 2 yards. Like
it's the new
math. Right? I think statistically
it's slightly
over
50
play.
I think
tick over 50. It's basically a point foot play.
But it's worth
the new math.
Yeah, that is the new math. Is just like you don't want to wish you had gone for it earlier. You have time to make up that extra 2-point
sure.
again. I mean, there was no way they were going to go for it with 17 on the board for SF. So you can feel a little bit better about it, but.
I'm gonna interject. What I also hear is to kind of like put it to a pin is if you're the Giants, I don't know if they were thinking like throughout the whole game to be like, oh, we're close. I think that's the Giants saying, hey, we're just lucky to be in a position to maybe get within 3. Like, if they get it there and they somehow create a turnover or something happens, like I'm sure they would love to be in a position to be down 3. I feel like it's one of those things where the underdog usually goes for the bigger risk just because if they're just lucky to be hanging around at this point.
Right. Maybe they had a play they really liked. Obviously they didn't like it enough to get it. I mean, look, it happened. I'll just be the first to say if that bet hit, I'd be sitting here bitching and moaning that I didn't put more on it. So, I mean, I would. That's just how it would be. So you move on. It's a fun story. It's a fun bad beat story. But yeah, I mean, that was the most, like I said, most predictable game in a league that's so unpredictable week to week. Betting these sides, that was about as predictable as it gets. Where like you knew San Fran, they don't score quickly enough. They're not 1-play 75-yard drives. They're 8-play 75-yard drive team, and you knew they'd get a lead, take the foot off the gas, and just win comfortably. So that was a pretty.
I'll throw a bad beat in there to that point. Had all the game script correct as well, and still didn't get. I ended up parlaying and taking singles on Matt Breida over 2.5 receptions for plus money, which backdoored the hell out of that. He had one for the whole game, and then on their very last drive, he just got 2 straight receptions for like -4 yards or something. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And then the thing that dicked me though was I did have Elijah Mitchell. I got it at 43 yards. He needed 43 plus yards. He got 42. And on the last play that he played, he needed literally one more yard to get them closer to a first down and just get the 43. Didn't get it, and that would have been it was like a plus 800 payout that I ended up missing out on. So.
Yeah, that was a game where me and Josh also, I think we took on the show. We took Elijah Mitchell boosted 50 plus yards,
50+.
and I was just one of those things where you can get the game script right, but he got out carried by both McCaffrey and whoever the other guy was in the fourth quarter, which you get that perfect great game script, and you see all the carries still go to McCaffrey and still go to whoever the third string they put in there later in the game. So it was a little frustrating where at the end of the day he had 11 carries. So to get 11 carries for 50 plus yards at plus 500, I don't regret the volume there, but I really thought in that game script that fourth quarter he would just get so many of the carries. And seeing McCaffrey out there, I think Will had the under 17.5 carries, which my friend had it as well. He texted me just in almost all caps and tears, being like, why the hell did he just get 3 straight carries? He was sitting at 15 for so long, and he got 3 carries back to back to back, and then never saw the field again.
Yeah, he finished with 18. So I had, not only did I have that bad beat, and Purdy threw it more than we expected. I think we all kind of like Purdy under eyes.
I was blown away that he threw the ball 40 times. 37, wherever it was, but
I had another boost, and I think you sent me this 50% boost, and it reminded me that I had a 50% boost for DraftKings, $100, and it was first drive. Again, I was going for bang for your buck, and I had it in my bet slip, about to hit submit, field goal. I think it was boosted to plus 800, plus 750 or something for $100, and I changed. I was like, oh, you know what? I know they're going to go right down the field. I think are they going to get a field goal? And then I was like, rushing touchdown was 12-1 or something, so I boosted that, and then of course they get stuffed. So
yeah, I wish we had talked about it, because as a Giants fan who watched every one of their games, that was their whole thing last season on defense, and it seems to be a similar thing as bend don't break. They just allowed a ton of yards. They continue to allow a ton of yards, and they've been, now in this game especially, they limited the opposition to a bunch of field goals. They're just get tougher down there. For some reason, they're soft as hell in between the 20s.
They stink, by the way. I mean, we said it all summer. They stink. We knew they were going to stink. That was a fluke last year. That was almost the worst thing to happen last year, was have this fake good season where, all right, we got to pay Jones, and hey, we got to pay Barkley. They didn't pay Barkley, but you know what I mean, where it's like, that wasn't real. They were better off just having a bad season, getting a quarterback. Now you go Jones all this money. He's okay. He's not the worst. He's like that worst little zone you could be, where he's good enough to give you some hope. You want a playoff game.
I gotta be honest, like I'm actually more in on Jones than maybe most people, because what I see when I'm watching is no offensive line and no wide receivers. Who's he throwing? Like, give him to anybody.
It's a bad team.
Anybody.
It's a bad team.
And that offensive line is Swiss cheese as well. So like I'm not ready to blame him. I do think they had to pay him, and we move forward.
I don't think they had to.
I just do. Yeah,
why
they weren't
going
to
have to though?
Well, I think he's good enough that, like, if you give
win a
him
Super Bowl,
yeah, absolutely.
I totally disagree.
I'm a Giants
Brian,
fan. We
jump
want to
in.
go with Eli Manning, dude.
I'm just going. I'm letting him finish his point here.
We want
because I don't see Daniel Jones winning a Super Bowl. I don't know.
I don't.
That's how they used to talk about Eli.
Eli was decent. Eli had some pretty good years, though. Eli was okay. He's going to make the Hall of Fame. I never thought of him as a Hall of Famer.
When he had weapons, he was good. Yep.
He's not Eli, though. I don't think he's Eli.
I was gonna say not to harp on this game too much, because I know Josh has to be up by some 10:40 random ass.
Hey man, you guys start on time, and I can stick around the whole time. You know?
That is my fault.
I was gonna say this is to kind of come out and say almost egg on my face, because I did have Brock Purdy under 29.5 pass attempts. Did it feel to you guys that they almost knew they had to win for not? You don't want to say they knew they had to win from the start of the game, but their game plan was so different than I've ever seen. It was almost like they were trying to get Purdy just comfortable throwing the football. He had 7 pass attempts in the fourth quarter, up 2 scores. He had 7 pass attempts in the first 2 games combined. So it really did feel like they were just trying to, I don't know, like try things out or try different looks, because I've never seen them be that pass first.
That's the frustration with betting on a Kyle Shanahan offense in any way that's too particular, which is like he's playing matchups, and he's got so many versatile weapons. He does believe in Brock Purdy. Like, he was like, let's put them away with that last 40-yard throw, down the field to Debo in the end zone, which was a strike, by the way, right on the edge. So like, I think it made sense that they were attacking maybe the worst defensive secondary in the league.
I think these markets are soft. Again, people don't want to tie up their money for a few months here, but to me, 49ers updated season win total 12.5. That team's not winning 13 games. To me, that's an over. That team's going to win 13 or 14 games, I would think. Giants updated season win total 6.5. Again, I don't want to be too reactionary. That doesn't look like a 7-10 team. That looks like more like a 5 or 6 win team. So I would play, again, I want to be too reactionary, but I would play over on the 49ers. I'd play under on the Giants. I might get these bets in here. I think those markets are pretty soft. Anything else on this game, or you guys want to move on to, do you want to do baseball week 3? I think the odds to make the playoffs are fast.
The last thing I would ask is, did you guys hit Debo at all after Ayuk was ruled out? I still got him at 60.5 receiving yards after Ayuk was ruled out.
I wish I did. I didn't think smartly.
He ended up with like 130 and a touchdown. The graphic that came up for me, what I was just watching TV while in the background, was he had the only time he's played without Ayuk since Ayuk's been on the team. He went for 10 for 11 on 10 receptions on 11 targets for 130. Just did it again. So I was like, all right, fine. I'll put a hundy on him over 60.5 receiving, where we're still at. So it felt a little bit stale.
Yeah. I don't know how much people love our recap of our bets from last night. I don't know if people find it interesting, but I mean, I enjoyed you guys. Everyone wants to shit on my bad beat or just commiserate with me. So I get
I was trying to. No,
I get that part of it.
Do you want to go into Sunday bets before we do baseball then? Or do you want to get into baseball?
I'm fascinated by the baseball just because it literally, like I said, I'm betting working so much that I feel like I'm not thinking clearly, and I'm staring at these betting markets odds to make the playoffs, and I know a great bet is staring at me, and I just can't crack like what the bet is. Let me just read them off.
Let's do it together.
All right, I'll phrase it this way: odds to miss the playoffs. So Mariners are plus 175 to miss. Texas is plus 175 to miss. Toronto is plus 330 to miss. Houston is plus 650 to miss. One of those teams is missing the playoffs, and we're getting these big numbers on all these. Like, what is the play here? What am I missing? The schedules: Texas and Seattle play 7 times. Seattle also has 3 against Houston, so tough schedule for Seattle. Houston has KC this weekend. Toronto has 6 with Tampa, 3 with the Yankees. They are going to see Cole again. Cole's been great. What am I missing? What are we betting? There should be a bet here. I just can't figure it out.
Yeah, I saw you post that on your Twitter as well, and I think there was someone that said exactly what you said a few days ago. It's why not just bet both Texas and Mariners to miss, because statistically it's going to be really hard for both of them to make it. So that is an interesting one. But then there's always that that Murphy's Law in the back of your head where everything that can go wrong will go wrong as soon as you lay 2 units on something that you think it's an easy quote unquote arb situation that somehow does not arb, and you just have to sit there and rethink your entire life choices.
I could see plus 330 on Toronto missing. Like that was the one that jumped out to me. Where like, that's not an easy schedule. They're all right there in terms of the losses. Toronto has 1 more win, and of course you got to get into the tiebreakers, which is complicated now. There are no more tiebreaker games. It's all about these different tiebreaker scenarios. So that plays a role here. But I don't know, Josh. What would you bet if you had to bet one here? I was thinking. You go first. Then
go ahead.
Astros are minus 110 at DraftKings to win the division. They have 3 with KC this week.
I'm tied up with them.
Yeah, I feel like
I would love for Texas to win the division so I could get money from you specifically, but like I also have more on the Astros to win the division and to win the AL, by the way. So I think the play though might be something along the lines of because the Rangers and Mariners are just going to beat each other up until the end of the season, and one of them's out. So it's between them and the Blue Jays, right? Because like you said, the Astros have the easiest remaining schedule of the 3 of those AL West teams. So the Blue Jays at plus 330 feels like you got to add that to your play to get the best juice. They're only half a game up.
Right.
And they have, looking the rest of theirs, Tampa, you said it already, but Tampa twice in New York.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Rangers Mariners, and it looks like the Rangers are
so tough with how they play.
5-1.
It's so tough how that division plays each other like the entire rest of the way. So
it's so fun. Like this is going to be an awesome.
It is so fun, but it's almost scary that if you bet it that one sweep, it's just like no matter which way you're betting, you either cash or you lose horribly just by one bad series. It's crazy that they all play each other. For me, I'm rooting for the downfall of the Seattle Mariners. That's
Definitely.
My fun.
I have no money on them. I need them to lose. Yeah,
I got them 75 to 1 to win it all, so I'm rooting for them. But I think I have more on Houston to win the division. But I'm really not sure because I bet all these teams so many different times at different prices, and I don't think it really matters who wins because I think I'm just I'm not going to win that much. I'm not going to lose that much. I did get good prices on pretty much all of them, so I really have to dig through the accounts and figure out what
just
I have
focus
here.
on the Mariners for them to make it as far as they can, so you can win that World Series bet. Maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, 75-1 sounds nice. So the
never
Blue
made a
Jays,
World Series, by the way. I think are they the only team that has not made a World Series?
Wow. Probably. Because
Not
once the
sure,
Rockies
dude.
did it.
Even the Rockies did. That seems strange to even think about or say out loud, but I'm trying to think of who else.
They had to win 23 games in a row, but yeah.
Right. Good memory.
Thank you. Might have been 22.
I'm looking right now at some of these markets.
So just to finish the point though, like the schedule stuff, like Toronto and Tampa Bay with 6 games against each other, they're already 3-3 on the season against each other. Or I guess 3-4 would be the Blue Jays. So they've actually lost to the Rays 4 times out of 7. Seems like the plus 330 on the Blue Jays is starting to feel like either way you slice it with the West, like it's a toss up, and here's where you can find some value to add to it. Like they're also going to miss if 2 of the West teams get in.
Do you guys know if Seattle has the tiebreaker over Houston and Texas?
I don't even know what it would be.
Because I'm looking, because I know we talked about yesterday that the bet to who can make the second seed. The Mariners are only the short like the second favorite behind the Astros, so that means they have to have the tiebreakers because that's the only reason they'd be plus 180 for that market.
Which reminds me, that was a brutal loss. I had the Reds the other day. That was a good win for your Twins, and man, the Reds would be set up here because we can talk about.
I felt bad for you, Will. I did think about you when that comeback happened, but I didn't feel too bad because this is gonna be such a fun sweat. I need them to go like 89 wins. I need the Astros to be at 89, and the Twins are the tiebreaker.
Because the Marlins have lost since. All these other teams, the Giants have been bad. The Cubs have been awful. Me and Josh have that bet, the bet on the Cubs to make the playoffs. I have them to
put up what 40 runs against them.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. And the Cubs were minus 900 to make it like a week ago. Now they're plus 210 to make it, which they get 3 with the Rockies. They do have to play the Braves and the Brewers. I don't know. Let's talk National League odds. Cubs plus 210 to make it. Diamondbacks minus 650 to make it. San Fran and the Padres both at 30-1 to make it. The Padres basically need to go undefeated and need some help from these other teams. It's amazing we're still even talking about them. Marlins are a coin flip minus 130 to make it. I don't know. Does anything jump out to you in terms of those odds?
I'm so stressed.
Still minus 130. That's fun.
The Cubs should not be stressing me out like this. So, what do you like, Will?
I think the Marlins have the Mets and the Pirates left. I think the Marlins are the rightful favorite. I'd be tempted to take a shot at the Cubs plus 210. Just, hey, they could play well against the Rockies, even though they have not played well at all. And then maybe Monday after they hopefully sweep the Rockies, they're minus to make it, and then you could play back the other way. I don't know. I'd probably Cubs. Yes, is probably the one.
It's the best juice. Yeah.
Reds is.
Do you want to take it again? I'll take the Cubs again at plus 210.
No, Reds is plus 235 to make it too. Again, you got to check out tiebreakers. And there's so many teams, so many moving parts. I'm going to sit here and bore everyone with the details, although it is important if you're betting it. I don't know. Do you guys see a great bet out there? I don't know. Like, as fun as it is, I don't know if I see a great bet. I
like the AL way better.
Yeah.
Because I think now I'm really talking myself into playing both the Blue Jays and then honestly, like Blue Jays and Mariners feels fine. Like if the Mariners have not had success against the Rangers, if you play anything into that, they're playing 6 times out of the last 9.
Right.
And then the Blue Jays would miss if they lose. If they go like 500 the rest of the way, I think they miss out. And that seems pretty plausible for them.
None of these books are dumb enough to let us parlay these, right? In the same
probably
league.
Not.
They probably have some kind of restriction there.
Can't parlay. What a joke. Come on. Let me parlay. Let the kids play.
If anyone wants to join in the fun, you can still get plus 7,000 for the 2 seed Twins.
Is that what it is?
They put it back up. It's not the 10,000 I got, but it's put it back up.
The Astros had to come from behind. Baltimore had a bunch of chances that day.
I really wanted that game to happen, Will. I see. This is why I think these kind of bets are so fun. It's $20. I can skip lunch one day for $2,000, and I found myself. I didn't watch it, but I found myself doing work with score alerts, checking in on a random midday Astros Orioles game.
I got a couple texts Wednesday. I was like, Astros going to miss the playoffs because they didn't play well against the Royals. They were struggling against the Orioles, but that come from behind win. Now they get the Royals at home. I feel like that one saved them, but they were in danger of not just.
I'm a huge Royals fan.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got, what's it called? Reagan's pitch tonight, who's pitched well. We should probably mention the card tonight. Do you guys like anything for tonight? I don't love the card here, to be honest.
I honestly didn't really bet anything yet. I didn't
I
I
don't
didn't
think I
see
did
anything.
either.
I had 2 bets yesterday I did well with, but um today, I
I
mean, I
know
know
the
yesterday me and Josh talked about the Phillies over his shitty Mets, and that worked out well for me. But I don't know if I trust anything today.
Let's see. Braves are playing the Nats with Morton going. Braves are minus 260. What if you parlay the Braves money line with Chiefs money line against the Bears, Cowboys money line against the Cardinals? How does that lose? Let's see what we got here. Minus 127,
wow. What are those money lines like? Minus 800.
minus 700, minus 715 each at Bet Rivers. Again, shop around. But Braves are minus 265, and Chiefs and Cowboys. Look, if the Chiefs lose to the Bears or the Cowboys lose to the Cardinals, you wear the L.
That ain't happening. The Cowboys are in a bit of a not trap, but like they're coming down off of two big games
Yeah.
against two New York teams that they cared about beating a lot, and then in Arizona, how much do they care about that game? Arizona's covered twice. Feels like a cover for them.
I feel like they're just going to kill Arizona, though.
Of course, if Joshua Dobbs doesn't survive this first half,
I feel like the Cowboys are one of these teams that can just bully them. It'll be all Cowboys fans in Arizona. I just feel like they'll get a couple turnovers. Like Arizona hasn't looked like the worst team in the league for 2 weeks. They've been competitive. I feel like this is one of those weeks where it's like, oh, this is the bad Arizona. Baker's out. I could see the Cowboys beating up on them. But that, again, so if you're just adding them on the money line with Chiefs, Cowboys, Braves, minus 127, I'm going to bet that.
I was going to say was talking about the baseball card. The one play I was looking at, I'm waiting for lineups because it is juicy. It's minus 140, but first 5 team total for the Baltimore Orioles against Shane Bieber. I mean, Bieber hasn't pitched in so long.
Orioles screwed me last night. I'm mad at the Orioles. I need a day off from the Orioles.
That's fair, but do you think the offense gets shut down 2 games in a row? I don't know. I think that's one of those things where I like backing offenses against guys coming off longer injury stints where you don't even know what to expect from them.
It's funny. I noticed Bieber's name yesterday. I was like, wow, he hasn't pitched in forever. I thought he was done for the season. I forgot all about him.
Yeah. I mean, they're still fighting for a spot, I guess, right?
Right.
They are like 90 games back, but they're not mathematically eliminated.
Right. Twins Angels today, Royals Astros, Tigers Ace. That's a fun one. Cardinals Padres. Anything else you guys like?
The only thing else I looked at is Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver's earned run prop is 1.5. I don't understand that. It's like super juice, but Luke Weaver has not been doing well. I'm surprised his earned run props isn't at like 3.5.
All right, you guys want to look at NFL for this week? We do have a bunch of news. The Bengals signed a court. Was it Reed Sinnett to the practice squad? To me, that's an indication Burrow's a no-go. I've been down on the Bengals since before the season, since he got hurt. I said, look, this is a red flag. The way I see it, it's almost like a pitcher with a tired arm where it's like if he's going to pitch through it, he's not going to be effective. The only way to get him healthy is to give him maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks off. And if you give him 2 weeks off, you might be 0-4. Your season might be done. The way I see it, they're fucked. I mean, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe they win Monday and they're fine. I think they're in a lot of trouble. I think most of their markets have been pulled. I suggested under 9.5 wins the other day. I know they were like minus 110 to miss the playoffs. If that's still up, I don't see Cincy getting back on track. I don't think Burrow's healthy. I don't think he plays Monday. I don't think he'd be signing a quarterback to the practice squad. I think, he didn't practice yesterday. I'm curious, what you guys think about that. Also, Young is not playing. Richardson's not playing. Man, we said all summer, be careful betting these over player props. And we've seen a ton of injuries where if you bet the under, you already won your bet, whether it's Chubb, these quarterbacks, a lot of you guys, Barkley's hurt. So I don't know, take it wherever way you guys want. Josh, I guess start with Burrow and just take it wherever you want to go.
It went back to minus 2.5 for the Bengals.
Okay, I saw 3s today.
Yeah,
on the 3.
But it's been fluctuating a bit, hasn't it? Because I think it opened minus 1.5.
Oh, it opened 7 and went down to basically 1.
Oh, wow.
I think 7 is a Burrow healthy line. I think 1 is a Burrow's not playing line, and I think 3 is sort of like, hey, we don't know.
I think the logic here is like if he does play, you still bank on him looking like he did in the first 2 weeks. More than anything,
a diminished Burrow, slightly diminished Burrow.
Check down Joe, essentially.
But if they're gonna play him, he's got to be reasonably healthy. He's just too valuable to the franchise to run him out there if he's 30% and gimping around. It's still early in the season. He's young, so it's an interesting situation. I like if you could find a 3 still, I would definitely grab the 3. I don't think he's playing.
Definitely, and like with the Rams, like their offense is good.
Yeah.
So they're that Bengals defense has been bad. So do with that what you will. I think it's a good bet against the Bengals.
I guess the only thing you can play devil advocate with is they were kind of in that game last week with a 30% Burrow. Maybe any 100% quarterback might make that offense look a little bit better if taking the fact that you could put in Josh out there, but at least you can move around and play at 100%.
My ankle's a little hurt right now, but yeah.
What do we
I
know
get your
about
point.
Browning? Has Browning ever played?
He had to play football at some point.
No.
I know that much.
That's a
Like
good point.
I know this is not like a Josh going in there situation.
It's funny because his name is it is Josh Brown. Oh,
It
it's
is.
Jake.
I think it's
Browning?
Jake. It's
Okay,
Jake.
yeah.
Yeah. You guys ever see that video where that's like
No,
the
Jake
guy
Browning
who's like
never
watching
played.
TV? He's like, did I just get drafted? It's like this. Like, who the hell is Jake
Yeah,
Browning?
no, I remember him from college. He played at Washington. He played in the college football playoff. He was okay, but from what I remember, he's just not an NFL pro. He was very limited. He is the prototypical career backup where he's carrying a clipboard. He's a cerebral guy, but he's just limited in terms of arm athleticism. He's like the token, backup, ideally third string. I thought they had Simeon for a while as their backup. Did Browning must have beat him out, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't see where I thought somebody was somewhere else, but yeah.
It's just hard to price Browning when he hasn't played, but man, I would like the Rams there. How about any of this other news? Young, Richardson, does this move the needle for you guys in any way? Minshew's a fine backup. Dalton's an okay backup. I don't know.
You know what's interesting is I was actually ready to bet on the Colts 8.5 with Richardson, and I was ready to bet on what was the other quarterback that's out we were talking about? You just mentioned
Young.
And I was ready to bet on the Seahawks with a lot of confidence with young on the road in Seattle. So it makes me falter a little bit. Like Minshew's definitely trustable, but it does feel like a situation where it's a decent matchup for the Colts based on looking into, because that was one of the sides I was looking into. I wish I had it at 8.5 still, but yeah.
What's the line?
I think
it's still there?
8.5.
Oh,
it
okay,
was 7.5 yesterday, and when the news came out, it was 8.5.
I kind of like Indy. I think Baltimore is super beat up.
8.5.
Minshew's okay. Minshew's not bad at all.
It's a big number. I feel like everyone assumes that 7.5 is like
no,
it is. It's like the biggest swing point, but people forget that 8.5 is another huge number to have in an NFL betting.
Because if you're down 11 late and you got like 30 seconds left, you kick a quick field goal to make it 8. Sometimes these teams go for 2 and don't
if you're
get
Sean
it.
McVay, you just you cover your owner's bets and you take that field goal with time expiring.
I thought that was much ado about nothing. I've seen that happen a million times where these guys just kick the field. I thought.
I just like to push the envelope there.
And any other sides that you guys like? There's a few props I'm looking at too, but I'm interested to see, because this is, maybe we say this every week, but this feels like a tough week.
It's hard. I just continue to think teasers are such a much better way to bet this league. I really do. Just like Chargers Viking, who's going to win? I have no idea, but it'll probably be close. I'm actually tempted to. Man, famous last words. I'm tempted to bet the Chargers. I feel like he's going to kill. Herbert's going to kill that Viking secondary. I just don't think the Vikings.
He is.
That would be a fun game. That's a really fun game.
I don't want my emotions tied up in the outcome, though.
I can certainly understand that. That's probably an over game too. Like, who's stopping who in that game?
Did you see that? Justin Jefferson's line for receiving yards is 102.5.
100.5.
Isn't that kind of fun?
Jeez.
102.5.
102.5.
That's just a crazy, and it's one of those things where I don't even know if I could feel comfortable betting or posting an under for that.
Yeah,
you just gotta like kind of laugh it off and see how it goes without any money on it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because you'll feel like an idiot if he doesn't get 103 receiving yards, and you're like,
but also if it goes under, it's like, it's
but then you take under, and you're like, oh wait, that was Justin Jefferson. That's right. It's it's highly plausible, but I also like Bill Belichick over Zach Wilson, period, end of story. Have you guys ever seen a 0.5 for a TD prop for a quarterback passing TDs? It's
I know people like the under, and there might be some weather, man. It's hard to stay under 36.5 in an NFL game. And look, I think it was 3.
We saw yesterday. I mean, the Giants even stumbled upon some points. Like, it's hard. That's a low total.
I mean, defensive score, special teams, a broken tackle, something. I mean, 20-17, you go over. That's a low total. I'm not saying I like the over, but
20-17, that's crazy. The weather and everything, I get it, and we all have in our minds, what was it, like 6-3 or something last year or something? There was that one of those games ended between these two teams.
It was 3-3, and then remember the Patriots returned a punt for a touchdown, like at the buzzer, and there was like a block in the back controversy that they didn't call. Sort of like the Jets-Bills game.
Exactly.
I think they just want to know when. I think they just want to know when they'll have to watch 10 more minutes of that game, so they just didn't call anything on that
Yes.
play.
Yeah, but also this I just want to circle back on a question we were all asking last week, which was like, wow, everything went over in week 2. And we were like, oh, are they going to juice this up and we can take some unders? And the answer was unequivocally no. When you look at like multiple less than 40 totals here, at least 2 that I know, including the Browns game, was like 38 or 9.5.
Yeah.
Those might be the only 2 under 40, but still.
We've got some
Everything else is mid
44s,
to low
44 and
40s.
a half, 47 and a half,
43.
39 and a half,
Yeah,
46, 36 and a half, 43. Yeah, I don't see anything that's crazy. It's a
Josh,
good
I'm glad
point to bring up.
I'm glad you brought up the Browns too, because we had a decently long conversation about this. Did you notice that they opened props? Props, I mean, for the Browns game. Jerome Ford's receiving a total is at 9.5. Remember we were saying it might be like 15, 14, 9.5.
Yeah.
Is that like something you gotta just like live with and play? Like I don't think it's gonna be a lot of Hunt early on, and I don't know if he's gonna lose all his third down snaps to what's his face? Why am I blanking?
Does anyone have Pickett in front of him? Because I think I have a good bet. Do you have Pickett in front of you, Brian? I'm curious what the best number on Fields rushing yards is, because I feel like the narrative.
I already bet it. 54.5 on FanDuel.
Is it still there?
Let me see.
It was 55 when I checked. But I already bet that and posted in Discord.
58.
I'm all for that. I mean, that's a number he crushes, and
it's a narrative thing where it's like, hey, I got to run more. Hey, you're not running enough. They're not calling enough runs. He's questioning this feels like
I'll tell you what, if he didn't have 3 rushing yards last week, this is usually 63.5. This line.
If you have points bet, Will, you might be able to get 55. Okay.
I don't.
You want 50. If you want over 49.5 on FanDuel, it's minus 154. But once you get up to 59.5, you're at plus 106 on FanDuel.
Yeah. I think I missed it.
That's all the best.
That was a good catch. What was your thinking what was your cap on that, Brian? Basically just that.
Basically, I mean, you look at it, that offense is just not good in general, and it's even worse when he's trying to make decisions. I think I actually buy into what he was saying last week about, I gotta be less robotic, be more mobile. That offense just works a lot better. Where if his first 2 reads aren't there, rather than you see all these videos of him just sitting in the pocket for 40 minutes. He's way better if he doesn't have that read, it just takes off. I think you're going to see a lot more of that, especially in a game script like this. I mean, and if you watched Trevor Lawrence last week at 30 yards against this team without any design runs, you added design runs, and if Trevor Lawrence breaks a contain, he might get you a first down. If Justin Fields breaks a contain against these linebackers, you're talking like that could be a 20, 30, 40-yard play. Like he just has that ability to, if he breaks one contain, who knows when he's actually going to fall down.
Last one before we go, because Josh got to get out of here, and we started a little late. But who fucks up Survivor? Who screws everyone in Survivor?
Great
Ravens
question.
favored by 8, Jags favored by 8. I'll throw in Dolphins favored by 6.5. Bills favored by 6. Seattle favored by 5.5. Dallas favored by 12.5. And who's the other? Oh, the Chiefs favored by 12.5. Who screws anyone in Survivor? What's the upset? Is there an upset?
I mean, once again, we have whatever your Survivor strategy is, because like you said, we could do.
We'll leave that. We'll leave that alone. Just like out of those,
I'm using that to detract the Cowboys and the Chiefs. I don't think you take the two best teams in the NFL maybe versus the 2 worst teams in the NFL. I don't think you take either of those games. At least I wouldn't. I think the Seahawks could be a team that screws it up. If you think the Panthers are as good as they are, I could see the Dolphins screwing it up. Like, this might be famous last words, but Russell Wilson doesn't look as bad as last year.
I kind of like Denver this week. Everyone's all over Miami. Denver stinks. It's a typical NFL where you look up, how is it 14-3 Broncos? What's going on?
I tailed Ryan. I tailed your boy Ryan, Jerry Jeudy over 48.5 yards.
He should be a good
snap
spot
share is going to keep coming up. He's not going to get guarded in the slot by Xavier Howard, so he'll be safe there. Cortland Sutton might get shut down, but Russ has been running too. I think he's at like 12.5, 13.5 rushing yards. It's a little high, but he ran like 5 or 6 times last week, had well over that. So if he's going to keep doing that, then his prop will get up to 20 at some point.
He ran last year too.
I bet his under 20.5 week 1. I bet his rushing total under 20.5 in week 1, and I'm so glad I didn't go back to it.
Yeah,
because he had 1 yard in week 1, and last week he was running a little more.
You made me think of this with your forward bet. Similar style, since Brian and I seem to be attacking backup running backs this year now. the Roshan Johnson on the Bears negative game
Yeah,
script.
36.5.
Yeah, is that what his receiving was?
I think it's his combo line.
Yeah, his combo. No, his receiving was low. It was still at like 13.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I would still take that. It opened at like 11.5, and I think it's been bet up.
All right.
I think that's a good one.
I think we covered it. We'll be back Monday. A lot of sports this weekend. Great college football weekend, NFL, all the baseball races. This is probably, I think this might be my favorite time of the year. It's a fun time of the year with everything that's going on. But appreciate you guys in the chat. Thank you to Pickett, Hall of Fame Bets, Sleeper. Check them out as always. Brian, Josh, good stuff, boys. See you guys Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern. Good luck with all your plays. Enjoy the weekend. See you then.